I'm making a coffee, so I'll be back in a minute.
Hey, Bonnie. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I was thinking, no, I'm not going to do this. It's too many people, but I'm really glad you're doing it. It's just a great community thing right now. So thank you.
Yeah, we need it. My pleasure. All right. So
Hold on, I'll be right back.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
Okay, so
I brought a cocktail. I'm not doing coffee.
We don't break the internet.
Hey, this is supposed to be a party, so I think you're doing the right thing there.
This is a party. In fact.
What's up?
Yeah. It's a 420 party, even though it's only 1:01.
Well, Pope might be joining with a joint later. If he's not already.
I can go in the other room and grab that.
15 minutes. It'll be 420 in the East Coast.
So it's all. Yeah.
What's up, Sean?
What
I
up?
like
Sean's
this
here.
tonight.
Guys.
Hey, Sean.
What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for the invite.
What's up, Sean?
It's a pleasure. Glad to have you.
I'm busy cooking, so I'm double duty here.
I brought marshmallows.
We got 2 pages now. We got 2 pages full. What is this? 25 a page.
What's up, Omar?
Yeah, what's up,
Omar's
man?
here? Hey.
Third row in the house.
Yeah.
Hi, Kim.
You guys are doing such a good
Hi.
job. You guys are doing such a great job.
Thanks, man. It's amazing. It's such a team effort. It's not just one of us, because all of us are really, we've all got our own expertise, and it's just such a great team effort. I can't say enough.
Did any of us invite Elon? I don't think any of us invited Elon.
Yeah, Viv might invite him as well, so he doesn't get FOMO.
Who knows? Who knows?
And I haven't started the live stream yet
right
on Twitter yet. So yeah, that's coming. I haven't started.
Telling Elon he can't work is like his worst nightmare.
They're down a player.
He's going to solve COVID himself. He's going to go solve it.
No, just tell him we're all talking about him. That will get him.
Yeah.
Well, he'll see, because once I get the live stream started.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're live streaming.
Yeah, almost. I'm almost there.
Almost.
Just have to fill in the
You're like a tech
key here. I don't know if it'll work because I haven't tried this before, but yeah, we'll see if it works. Okay, so I'm just about to go live. Let's see. Oh shoot, it's asking for a live stream page URL, so I don't know what to put there. I guess maybe our YouTube videos.
Imagine all the people.
Let me just.
You guys,
I just do it too.
Are you guys old enough to remember this thing we did long ago? I think it was a Michael Jackson thing. It was Hands Across America.
Yeah, you're not asking me, are you, Ross?
What?
You're not asking me if I'm old enough, are you?
Well,
me either. I just want to say.
I thought you were going to say we are the world.
We are the world.
We are the world.
We are the world.
I thought it was pretty cool when we all held hands across the whole world.
Well, it was across America.
Nobody would do that today.
No, wasn't there one that was across the whole world? I remember this. Was it "We Are the World"?
We Are the
That
World
was
was
just
a song, correct?
the song they did with all the big time names.
I was wondering if there was
I don't know where you've all been.
Yeah. No, I think that's what we need now. There's 2 billion people at home at the same time right now. It's like a streaming service, like dream come true.
I've got to go get my mask on as well.
I get a meeting request for Saturday morning saying, are you going to be around? Where else am I going to be? Right?
Yeah.
We're all around.
Sleep?
You might have another party to go to online.
I might, yeah.
Honestly, I've been so busy. We've been so busy with clients. Like, it's been one of the most crazy periods of time in my entire career as a stock trader, investor, and a firm, and the daily swings of gains and losses have just been insane. And we've done a pretty good job trading through this thing, but like the amount of clients and just people affected by this, I have never seen. I've just never seen. Like the economy in LA, Vegas. I mean, it's just like kind of in LA, it's only half gone, but Vegas, it's like 3/4 gone. I don't think I've ever seen a period of time where there's so much uncertainty because nobody I've talked to so many expert doctors, and it's so funny because they're all unanimously decided that we're all going to die. But
Wait, why are you
eventually we are.
Right, exactly.
But not
They're more
hopefully
scared
anytime
that they're
soon.
going to die.
This is definitely going to
They're
be
the
one
ones
of
who
the
are gonna
great challenges, you know, especially for millennials who didn't really come of age during 9/11, like I did, unfortunately, and many of us. This is definitely as big or bigger.
Oh, it's unprecedented. I think
Yeah.
it's way bigger than 9/11.
Yeah, 9/11, we were not all at a shelter in place.
Well, it was different though. Remember, going
Yeah.
to war is a different animal than fighting a virus, you know. And I would rather fight the virus, honestly, than, you know, we've been fighting Al Qaeda now for how many years? I mean, it's still going on. It's still going on. So I think we'll have more success against the virus, actually.
Okay, Ross.
Didn't we start with the Taliban, Ross, instead of the Al Qaeda during that time?
Hey,
I mean,
Dennis.
they're the same
Hey,
people.
Bonnie.
Really. They're all
Was
I
there
think
an
we're
itinerary
live
you want to
now.
run through
Tesla.
this?
So Tesla, you know, just
Is
to
it
get
full?
into that, I wanted to see where everybody was at with
Oh, it's in still in the box.
Yeah, in the box.
I wanted to see where
Sorry, go
everybody was at with your thoughts on Tesla, so we can sort of crowdsource where we're at, because right now, you know, they've basically been forced to shut everything down except in China, which is actually now ramping up. But it's going to be a challenging period of time because, you know, Tesla doesn't really have much room for, you know, wasting time, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play this, you know, moving forward in timelines and product launches and things like that. Because I think there's no question Elon pulled off the move of all move, raising money, pure equity at 7 something.
Like genius.
It's beyond like such a good move, and he does it over and over again, where he senses the moment's right, and then like right after he does it, things get really tough, and it's always like, how did he know, you know? So I think he kind of saved the company again by raising $2 billion, and now I think it's going to be hard for the government not to help Tesla moving forward, for all the contribution he's going to make in solving this problem.
I wouldn't be Ross. That would be a good outcome, but the way the administration just turned on GM overnight, I just think everything is unpredictable right now.
Oh, for sure, and I wouldn't bank on anything.
Yeah.
But I do believe that in the end, the government is going to have to give compensation to almost every person, and it's basically what's happening. They're basically paying off every person, business owner in America, one way or another, for their total negligence in handling this problem. And so, in my mind, Tesla would have recourse against the government for being forced to shut down because of their government's negligence. You know, so I think everybody gets money who really tries, and you should try to get money too. You know, to be honest.
Happening in the Netherlands as well. Yeah, we get government money, and they're investing 90 billion. And the Netherlands is a very small country, but they're investing 90 billion in the coming 3 months.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a new economic theory that's I've developed recently, which is that there's no such thing as inflation, actually, that it's gone. And this whole paradigm of like, you know, oh, we shouldn't print money because, you know, it's going to cause inflation is just out the door. And so now we're trying a whole new philosophy, which is if we just continue to print money and spend it to amounts that have never in human history been tried, what could go wrong, you know? So they might as well just give it to everybody, you know?
UBI to the extreme, is that what you're talking about, Ross?
Well, it's an attempt to restart capitalism by like literally just filling our system with capital, even though it's inefficiently done, you know? And so there's
not only inefficient, but it's not hitting the people that need it the most, right? The people that are earning tips and
Well,
such.
I disagree. I think Pelosi did a good job. I think that if I was getting $3,200 check, like I'm a married couple of two that doesn't make a lot of money and 2 kids, and I get $3,200, and if I lose my job, I get unemployment plus they're adding $600 or whatever.
Yeah, but there's a current under that, Ross. There's a current, the people that walk the dogs and do all that, they don't necessarily report all that income, and they're not getting the jobs right now, and they're hurting, and they're not going to get a check.
You know, this is a pure recession. It could be even worse. There's no upside. Everybody loses. It's how much, you know. I wish they'd just done a flat, everybody gets a check and no means testing. Just because I know of a lot of people that could use that check that won't get it.
Oh, totally. Something too, Ross. Everybody loses, but what about people that have zero to lose, and people that don't? People that cannot go. Don't shrug. What happens to those people?
Well, when you say zero to lose, I think everybody has something to lose.
No, that's not true. People that are in debt right now that have. I just moved 3 people into this house that I've been staying in alone for pay for it. All right. People that aren't going to get checks, people that can't work right now, people that have nothing. There is that layer, that undercurrent that was mentioned, and that isn't being addressed.
That's true. But I do, the one thing I have to say was in LA, they literally housed thousands and thousands of homeless people in the last couple days or weeks. They have, trust me, they did not deal with this problem in any way up until this, and now they're in full panic mode because they know of the risk, and there are some things being done. Now, I'm not saying it makes up a lot of people.
But here's this: why weren't they done a year ago, 5 years ago? If it was that easy, I mean, I don't want to get hung up on this, I promise you, but people have got to understand.
This isn't really a party plate yet.
Well, there's the largest slice of seriously the population. You're probably I'm guessing probably between 15 and 20% will not see a dime, if not more, that absolutely need it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I honestly, like, I think from my perspective, we have to do our part as individuals and not the government. You know, I just gave $15,000 to the Venice Family Clinic the other day. They're super impacted by this and trying to provide care for so many families.
Do you know any Uber drivers?
I know lots of Uber drivers, and I've been fighting for Uber rights for drivers for quite some time.
Right.
And,
there's 50 million people that drive for Uber, and many of them, that was, you know, a primary source of income, and it's just gone.
True, but actually delivery is doing really well right now.
Right, but there's a switchover for that.
That's true, but it's better to be doing that than, let's say, my friend who's an agent in Hollywood. You should see these guys cry. It's like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
But we can't compare an agent who's probably got a nice bank account.
No, I know. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying. I'm saying that everybody is dealing with struggles, and of course, some people have extraordinarily difficult situations right now. And you know, to be honest, I have a friend who's in serious trouble right now too, and I'm really worried about him. And you know, I hate this shit. You know, I mean, I wish I could say here's a solution, but we're just a certain amount of people. This is just going to be really tough on, and we can only do what we can.
I think the guy before made a good point, though, that you can't compare an agent that's in trouble with somebody that's living in their car and driving Uber, because that agent that's in trouble still has a network, and they have a support system, and they have somebody where if it came down to them, they can make a phone call and get $1,000 in cash probably in an emergency.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, all right.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you in any way, and I was kind of just making a joke about that. But I'm just saying I know people who have families too, and they don't save their money, and they think they're the shit and everything was great, and their careers are over right now. And,
Yep, I totally
and I work
agree.
with musicians. You know, I'm in the music business. And
But here's the point, though. Those people get checks, Ross. That's
yeah.
people you
they
just
get fucked
described
too,
are going to
man.
get that
They're all
$3,200
getting
check.
screwed. They're all getting screwed. But I work with a lot of musicians right now who don't have any money. I support a lot of musicians with my other company, and it sucks, man. And we're doing what we can at my other company to help our artists right now. Who, I mean, these people, I mean, God, their only job was being a waiter, and now you can't even do that, you know. So I get where you're at, and it's just millions of people right now. It sucks. On a
Hopefully hopefully this bill though was just a start, and that these things will start to be identified and then they'll be addressed going forward.
Let me tell you the positive scenario. The positive scenario is this, is that if we really work on this isolation thing, in 2 months, we should have made a lot of progress in solving this. And if we can get our lives back in the second quarter at some point, everybody will get rehired again, because the fundamental.
No.
I'm telling you.
No.
A lot of businesses are going to go under.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are.
True, and it might not be in the job that you used to have.
Exactly.
But the fundamental economy is super strong. Like, people want to be out making money. They want to be in restaurants. They want to be at concerts. They want to be.
It's also based upon consumption, though. And right now, you have the entire country that's probably running at an average of 33% of their typical consumption. Now, you're assuming.
So.
I don't agree with that either.
I don't agree with it, brother Russ. My problem with this is that you cannot just throw money at people to fix the problem. I see two issues. You can have an economic crisis based on a lack of demand, but you can also have an economic crisis based on the lack of supply.
Right. Supply chains are running. Supply chains are running.
So I think we have to address both of them, but I don't think it's true that the economy is running at 33%. Like, I'm looking at Amazon, and they've never delivered that much stuff. And I'm looking at a lot of online companies, and they literally like deliver like they've never done before.
Yeah, I honestly, like, my wife has a beauty products company, and sales are great. Like, and we just got our shipment from China today. Thank God. It's like literally most companies are having problems supplying products just as much as there's a demand issue on one side. I think that's totally true. Like, I'll give you an example. The grocery stores have never done better in their lives. If you were to tell Kroger's that this, like, think about Amazon. Like, we've been buying Amazon stock like crazy. Like, Amazon is killing it right now. They're hiring like crazy. I just read Instacart's hiring like crazy. Blue Apron was basically bankrupt, and now they're hiring 300 people. So so what's happening is the economies of the world are like rejiggering into this whole new thing. So on one sense, we have the digital economy now is becoming just like solidified. You know, like, I bought stock in Zoom, and everybody said the valuation's ridiculous. I agree, but I'm like, this is not going to end. It's schools, it's businesses, it's friends, this is so efficient. I bought Slack stock. You know, I was like, we use it at my company, and think about how workplace efficiency is going to change.
So, not to interrupt, but I feel like we're going to have an hour discussing the economy. I'd love to hear what everybody is dealing with isolation in place. What have you been? I know, like Kim, for instance, they all go out on the street and have a cocktail party.
I'm doing that out right after this. That's where I'm going.
Where are you, Kim? Where are you located?
I am in Newport, Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, cool.
Yeah. So we've been having like socially distant cocktails every day that it's nice out. We put our camp chairs out on the sidewalk on the street across the street from each other and have cocktails. It's awesome.
Exactly. And how much everybody's doing all this behavior is just going to go back to the way it was before. Everything is simply evolving, and it's a matter now of seeing which, where is society going to point, and where are they just done with?
So what are you doing? What are you doing differently right now? Are you finding ways to connect with people even though you're home?
Well, we launched our product early, and I don't want this to become a commercial for pay for it, but we moved up a relaunch. We deliver in and out and weed on the same delivery, so that's the whole commercial.
Oh, that's an innovation. That's a great innovation.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So we moved that up. You can order. It's basically like a DoorDash, but you can add on alcohol or marijuana where legal onto the same delivery. Same driver picks up the whole thing.
Hey, Ross.
Hey,
Ross.
Awesome.
Do they use a Tesla?
There is a Tesla mentioned in our deck because there's a part 2 that has to do with a co-living solution for our drivers, and we have cars out front that they can rent by the hour, by the day, and one of them's a Tesla.
Ross, what you started the conversation off with regarding Tesla, I think that was a really interesting that, like, for the people that are streaming, that would be really interesting how you said let's crowdsource and see. Tesla set up really well. We raised cash and all that, but if for the remainder of the year the macro environment just looks dismal, would you invest in Tesla or not? Can we get back to that?
Yeah,
I'm very interested. If you can set that up for everybody, then we can give crowdsource input.
Yeah, well,
dollar cost
and just to go back to Bonnie, just to go back to Bonnie, you know,
I'm just trying to get the party. I'm just trying to get the party started, Russ. That's all.
I love it. No, I think the best thing people can do is exactly that: is to get outside, and walk around and be in nature.
They just closed all the hiking trails here.
I just climbed over the fucking fence. I don't give a shit.
You know, I live on,
there's no laws anymore.
I live on top of a mountain. They're not closing down the forest paths up here, but all the main hiking trails and stuff that hardly anybody's out on this time of year. They just closed them all down.
I know.
Bonnie, I live really close to you, and the reason that they're shutting a lot of them down is that they don't want to spare resources. You know, every once in a while a hiker gets up there and they get lost or break a leg or something. They don't want to spare resources going and hunt somebody down.
That. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
And it's all just a discouragement anyway. They would never arrest you for hiking. They're just trying to get 95% of the people off the trail.
They're not going to go pick us up if we slip.
Exactly.
But you know, once again, I was teaching my kid about this today. Like, there's just no rules anymore. Do what you need to do. If you need to go hike, just hike. What are they going to take you to jail for hiking? They're letting the people out of jail. Yeah. You know.
Ross is one of those people. Okay.
I'd like to share that one thing.
I'll admit it. I was at the beach on Saturday last week, and everybody was like 10 feet apart. And I was hiking on Sunday, and it was packed. And that's what I'm saying. I think the economy wants to come right back as soon as they let us back. You know. And so that's the one upside.
Let's hope so. Yeah, here,
you know,
I go hiking every afternoon with the dogs, and I see nobody when I'm out. Just absolutely nobody, and it's kind of nice.
All right, let's talk about Tesla. Let's get into Tesla. So here's what I know.
What are we going to talk about 420?
Hi, Biv.
I'm going to eat chocolate-covered marshmallows.
Yeah. So Tesla 420 party. You know, as I said earlier, this is the house where the party is going to be, and you know, it was really going to be a great party. So I'm excited because I think parties are going to be even that much better when this is all over. You know,
oh my God,
it's going to be insanely fun. Especially like I'm in the music business, and like the fact that there's no concerts and no shows, and man, it's like tearing my.
I think
soul.
Everyone's just going to be happy to see each other again.
Well, yeah.
In real life.
In real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to rediscover
real people.
I know. But on the other hand, it's like I was Zooming with a bunch of college friends of mine, and I was like, we never do this really anyways. And, you know, I think in a way I'm seeing more people, you know, in some ways, you know, I don't know. So what's happening with Tesla is when you run a factory like Tesla runs the factory, it's usually a mess every day. And so like they're constantly like on the fly.
Not in China.
Not in China. I'm talking Fremont. And they're constantly on the fly, moving things around and getting things. So when they started the Model Y assembly line, it's really in another parking lot, I think. And so it's like,
a tent.
Yeah, it's a tent. And so taking this 4 weeks off, if it's only 4 weeks, doesn't hurt Tesla that much, because 2 weeks they clean up equipment and all this kind of stuff, and then 2 weeks they can work on the factory and like make sure the efficiencies are there that should be there. So when they start again, it's just like, boom, we don't have to retool for the next 12 months plus, you know. Model Y was just launching and they're still delivering cars, I think. And
China's cranking Model Ys out, right?
No, Model 3s.
Only Model 3s?
Yeah, I don't think they have a Model Y line.
Okay.
Only Model 3s.
We just got our Model Y yesterday.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, yesterday.
Nice.
I'm sitting in a Model Y right now.
Oh, it's awesome.
No way.
Yeah, I saw your video, Mark. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an incredible car. It's changed the game.
Yeah, that's the finisher. That's the finisher, the Y.
No doubt.
What did you do with the truck? Did you throw the truck away?
No, it's my wife's car. The truck is for work. Come on, the truck's for work.
I'm not saying you can't have it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are though.
I've got an SUV. We're getting our Model Y and the Land Rover's going for sure.
Eventually, the truck will go away. I just don't know when. It won't be when the Cybertruck comes out. But
when that Cybertruck hits, you know, Mark.
It's so funny.
That's what
Like
I'm gonna start
Cybertruck is one of the most incredible product launches I've ever experienced in my life.
Oh my God.
I've never seen something go
Oh
so
my God.
poorly. It was like the worst screw up ever, and the
The
stock
best.
literally cratered
Best that ever
5% the next day, and like
that's because they
people were
saw
like-
it.
and people were like, dude, that was like a horrifying night, you know?
You're like,
Best marketing event ever.
you're like
though.
it
Totally.
rolls up. You're
It was
like,
totally
No
screwed up, but
publicity
it was
is
the
bad
best market.
publicity.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
well, for Elon, for Tesla, yeah.
No, it's amazing how it turned from like the worst thing ever to the best thing ever in like 2 days. And I remember looking at it, and I'm sure we all thought the same thing. Like, is this really the truck? You know? And then it was like a day or two goes by, and I'm like, I love this thing. Like, if I drove this thing down the street, everybody would be like, that is the baddest ass truck I've ever fucking seen. And I was like, I'm getting one. I'm just getting one.
And
you know?
for us, getting a ride in one, we were one of the lucky few. It was actually Kristen and Viv were in the truck with me, and Hamid. That was really cool. He videoed it, and just having that experience of seeing what it was like inside, that was a game changer. Like, that changed my mind right away. Like, because initially, yeah, I saw it and I thought, is this for real? But then you start putting all the pieces together.
It's like, I don't know what the timeline's really going to be for this truck, you know, and where they're going to make it. But now, in some ways, Tesla has an even better position to open a factory in
Texas.
the United States. Yeah, I hope it's.
Right here.
Yeah, that was me.
Austin, Texas, guys. Austin, Texas.
Well,
He's making a run for it there.
Austin's a perfect city for Tesla, really.
It is.
Austin doesn't need it. Houston needs it. Houston is totally oil-based. They need a factory for the next generation.
That would be a good
There's
balance.
a point there too, and all the oil jobs that are going to be lost. So I just want to have to say, one of the greatest things that's happening right now, and I just did an interview about this, is the fact that the oil economies and the oil companies are on the verge of collapse. Like, we've literally broken them. If you don't think that all this bullshit to kill Tesla was just random fucking guys who just like hate Elon, like, come on. Like, look at what's happening right now. And if you don't think that Tesla, it's small, but it was like pushing the rock down the hill.
Just pushing that edge.
And it pushed just a little bit harder, and then it was like the whole thing came down. And now,
hockey stick.
What?
Do you think West Texas is going below 10 anytime soon?
What is?
West Texas Intermediate. You think it's going to go down below 10
No,
anytime
I
soon?
think that they're going to all have to get together and say, look, we've all got to cut production of oil. That's the ultimate awesomeness of the whole situation, is then they don't have to create so much oil to destroy the earth, and there just isn't a need for so much oil, period. Okay?
Do you think that there's going to be any reflection on how much we've reduced pollution during this whole quarantine, coronavirus, whatever? I mean, it's like
It's been pretty
so
crazy
long.
seeing just the data of how much less like pollution is in the air because of all this.
So,
I thought Sean was supposed to launch a video. Did he do that on the pollution, Sean Mitchell?
Yeah,
on how
he did.
yeah. Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put this stuff on Twitter because people will think I'm crazy, but like I'm a big believer at this point. I believe everything has a purpose, and Earth was tired of us, and Earth said we're going to slow you all down and clean this mess up. And I have never seen the
Ross, what are you smoking, buddy?
Yeah, I was
not yet.
I was gonna say definitely people would think you're crazy.
No,
But
same thing I've been smoking. Mother
It's on
Gaia
Twitter now.
has given us
and that's from the Earth too. And that's from the Earth too. But think about like just the emissions that are not being created globally right now. It's never happened in the modern industrial era that we've shut off all the major economies at the same time. Think about, like, I'm out at the beach and I go to the beach, I swear to God, and dolphins are diving out of the water, dancing and playing. I'm like, what the fuck? And swear to God. Swear on my life.
Here's my
Water
prediction.
I'll tell you something.
There's no smog, there's no traffic.
You know, they showed those satellite views. They showed those satellite views of China and how much the emissions went down. Nobody's displaying the satellite emissions from the U.S. of how our stuff has gone down. Where are those? I'd love to see those.
I saw one of the Puget Sound of like just giant pink cloud before this, and then now you see it, and it's like almost gone.
Why don't we? I'd love to see the entire country.
You know, I should
imagine
say,
if we only turned on like solar going forward, like and EVs, like we just never turned on those fucking coal plants again. Just don't even turn them on again.
Do you guys remember 9/11 and they shut all the airlines? Nobody flew for whatever it was, 1 to 2 days. There were a huge number of environmental studies that came out after that. And so, yeah, the right people are looking at it and they're crunching their numbers, and they'll be coming out with their studies, and they're going to be really positive, because this is even more of an impact than 1 day of no flying was.
No, the key is China.
It's going to be incredibly positive for Tesla. Tesla is going to get out of this much stronger
Hear
than
you with that
anyone
mask
else.
on, man.
There's many things that makes it better. For example, one thing is that they were already contactless in terms of shopping for your car, so you would not meet anyone. That's going to be a big plus. They're the best positioned people to sell cars getting out of this crisis. Second, they were already producing at their ultimate capacity, and they had to make people wait. Oh, you wait. That means that they have a pent-up demand. Their competitors don't. So as soon as this ends, they can resume full production without any problem. There's so many other things. Like, it's crazy how good.
Well, here's the thing that we're trying to figure out like how many people canceled buying their Tesla, let's say. So as we end the quarter in a couple days, right? The quarter was pretty normal for Tesla up until a few weeks ago, you know? Yeah. So I only think they lost 2 weeks of production, like in pure production. And I think that they sold every car that they needed to sell this quarter, I think.
Well, I'm seeing stuff on Twitter about like.
There's a lot of cancellations.
Yeah, cancellations.
Twitter is not a source of information that's accurate.
Granted, but like it seems like. Go ahead.
The inventory is going up, so that's one thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like how much cancellation. So if there was like 100 orders, how many canceled? You know.
I mean, if somebody has a job, and I mean, most people. A lot of people are no longer employed, and or at least laid off temporarily. It could be for 2 weeks, or this could last 6 months before things get ramped up again. So, and who knows, companies will take this advantage of this to clean up and to refocus maybe in a different way where they couldn't do before. So who knows if these people are going to be able to buy again in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years, depending on where they are.
It's gotta hurt solar too. I mean,
solar I think might hurt it, but I think there's so much demand in solar, especially in California and Australia, that's not going to be a worry.
I'm pretty sure there's quite a few cancellations, because we got an email. Literally, I got a text on Sunday, and it was out of nowhere. We didn't. It just said prepare for delivery, and like nothing. We had no communication. No delivery specialist contacted me via email or anything. I just got a text that, hey, can you pick up your car tomorrow? I mean, it all happened like that.
Wow.
It was crazy. So I think it was a cancellation, even though we did order the day after the reveal. So I had I ordered it a long time ago, but it was weird. It was my first experience that it was just really, really quick. And I think it was a cancellation.
I mean, if they're able to match. What was that, Pope?
I'm curious to see the difference between the cancellation with GM, people not going into store to pick up the dealership to pick up their cars, versus Tesla. I'm thinking Tesla is affected, of course, but comparatively to the competition, it's doing just great.
Yeah, but that's not the game I'm in. I'm in the game of owning Tesla, so the competition doesn't matter to me.
Well, it matters in terms of market shares, and it's something that is pointed out.
We're not even there yet. I mean, in terms of market share, we're a decade, well, not a decade, maybe 2-3 years away before Tesla will have to start fighting for market share, if ever.
Right.
But one thing, here's a prediction for you. This whole situation that's happening right now, I'm predicting that within the next few months, and sooner rather than later, China is going to announce a firm date for the end of selling ICE cars. And that date might be closer to 2025 than 2030.
Yeah, and I think it goes back into, if everything's shut down now and we restart everything, how can we make our society better? It makes sense to just keep pushing into the EV. And if Tesla's up to 3,000 cars a week in China now, they're probably selling half the cars in China right now. So this is probably Tesla's biggest advantage over so many companies in any industry right now, is being like US and China based. And the China demand is twice that the US demand. So maybe China saves them in Q2,
Well, it'll bring in cash flow. I mean, right now, I think Tesla's priorities, in my opinion, is they have cash. So there's no worries for the next 6 months. They need to keep building Giga 3. Continue on Giga 4. Right now, there's nothing stopping them in Germany. So keep working on that. And hell, why not just start up another one in Texas if they're allowed to? But apart from that, clean up, retool, and then what they need to do is they need to figure a way to get protective equipment into the States, into their factories.
Yeah.
In a way that the thing is they can't hoard it, because it'll be a PR nightmare. So they have to help the U.S. get equipment everywhere.
Have it, though.
Yeah. So they have some. Yeah. So, and because there's going to be an order to reopen industries, and I hope it does, but it has to be under very protected situations. So people will need to wear masks. A lot of Purell, like Earl is showing right now. And just we'll start up, even if they only work on half production. Fremont at half speed is still better than no Fremont at all. So
right, and I think I think protective equipment, all this stuff, it won't take that long to make. I think these companies can make masks by the billion. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. So it's not like building like battleships and stuff during World War II. So I think those problems will be solved, and that's going to be just a standard way business is done for some time with protective equipment and such. But I think that when I was at the factory, the way I see the factory is 75% of that factory, there isn't a lot of human interaction and need. And it's only the end in general assembly where the humans are all in the factory line. Like,
Ross, are you talking about Fremont?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So I don't think there's too much exposure risk relative to other types of careers, working on an assembly line per se. There's a lot of people who go in and out of there every day. That's the risk. But definitely taking that bus to the factory is worse risk than the factory itself,
Hey, Ross, I'm an early investor in Tesla. And the only time I've ever sold was when you started tweeting when we were doing that ramp. You're like, hey, if you're smart, you'll pull some money off the table. So
yeah,
good thing I listened. Yeah, that was a great call now. But I've taken quite a bit off the table, and it's sitting in cash, and it's got one place to go. It's back into Tesla at some point. The question that I was asking earlier is like, I know Tesla, out of all the automotive companies, can get up and running, I feel like, and they've got the cash reserves. They're set up to supply as quick as possible. And we know how Elon operates and how Tesla as a culture is. I think they'll be the quickest to recover.
For sure.
But if the next 6 months, the demand is just shit, does it matter? Like stock price wise, I guess what I'm wondering is like, do I put that money back in now? Because I didn't want to drop to 300.
That 900 was not an accident, man. That 900 was not an accident, and it's only a matter of time until it gets there again. The virus only puts off the potential date for that 900 plus to get higher. If you're waiting for a bottom, what happens if the up is fucking Monday and you miss out on $200 a share or some shit? Do it now.
Well, listen, guys, we're about to go over the fucking abyss economically. So as much as
yeah, but Tesla's not.
That's what you're saying. Absolutely, they are. If you shut down 3 factories, you are losing millions a day, and so let's not. So I've done this for a long time, and the way this works right now is it's just like 9/11. The planes hit. Everybody's like, oh, we're going to do this and do that. And the market kind of rallies because America's going to get its shit together. But then it's like the next maybe year of economic pain. And so how quickly and how long that's going to be, nobody knows. And so
let it bleed.
So let me tell you, so strategy.
I'm a relatively young guy. I got a long time to do this.
That's not the point.
I plan to be buying Tesla for a very long time.
I'm a relatively young guy too, and I plan on living to 120. So it doesn't matter whether you're young or old. It's not going to change. Losing money is losing money. It's actually just as much money you lose no matter what your age.
And but it starts going up once it starts coming into focus.
Well, let me tell you how to trade this. One way, which I think is the best and easiest way, is if you're going to invest it over the next, let's say, 6 months, which I think is a good time frame to think about. Just invest either divided by weeks and buy on
or months.
Down days on the week. Like today it was down, so I bought a share of Tesla. And then next week you buy another share of Tesla, or you do it once a month. But you don't need to commit all your capital right now. Yeah. Now, the second way to trade this is a more complicated trade, and it's one that I'm doing where I'm long Tesla. Let's say I buy Tesla for round numbers 500. And then what I do is I sell a call against it at 600. Okay. I take in a premium, and then I buy a put under it at, let's say, 475. Okay. And the trade essentially pays for itself because of the volatility. And so that means if Tesla rallies 20%, I keep all of it. But if Tesla falls 20%, I only lose a small amount of money. And so these type of hedge trades are just wonderful in these high volatility periods of time. You can actually buy protection and still cap yourself with upside of 20% just by taking the volatility and and receiving premiums on one side and using it to buy puts to protect you on the downside. So what you can do is you can protect yourself. If Tesla goes to 400, you won't lose that much money at all. But if Tesla rallies 20%, you get 100% of the 20%. Okay. So
you lost me a complicated trade.
It is, and this is why I make money doing this.
I know.
And I don't recommend, and I deal with very large numbers, so we have to protect our portfolios. Yeah. But it's basically it's portfolio insurance, or it's stock insurance that's paid for by selling a call and buying a put. And because the volatility is like so big, it basically doesn't cost you anything. So it's kind of a. So anyways, if you want to do these things, you can also be a client. We have no minimums at my firm. We are good at upside. How do we figure out ways to protect our portfolio and still have upside in this really tough period of time? And we're
Ross,
out for.
Are we allowed? I mean, how do you operate with clients? Like, are we involved in the decision-making process, or it's sort of a hands-off approach, or what do you recommend?
I mean, all of our clients are absolutely involved. It's your money. And so we're your advisor. And so what we're doing is we're taking over your portfolio. Now, what we don't do is let you just like trade on your own. Like we're not E-Trade. So clients have ideas. They'll call us up or email and say, hey, you know, is it a good time to buy Zoom and Slack? We'll be like, yeah, you know, maybe we should add this to your portfolio, or maybe just wait, or this or that. So it's a collaborative process. And that's kind of the secret to getting better results. It's not like, oh, just give me your money and I'll just do better than you. Yeah. Many of our clients are very, very smart people and have great ideas and bring a lot into to us that we don't know, you know? And so that process of working together is kind of why we're successful, I think. We work with our clients, and, you know, obviously we don't like to work with difficult people, I guess is the best way to put it.
I'm difficult. AF.
Yeah. So you're out, buddy. Sorry.
Hey guys, I think that would actually be too easy. The only strategy I can think of is buy more Teslas.
I think when you're my age, you'll be really happy you did that. And I would argue that at any
25?
Yeah, I started when I was earlier than you. You know,
I'm not 25. I said anyway.
No, I started in the industry when I was 23. I started investing when I was 13. But certainly accumulating stocks for the long term works, whether it's Tesla, Apple, Disney, you know, whatever. But I think it's also the idea of just making it a part of your life. So in these difficult periods of time, if I can just save and invest during these periods of time, your returns will be much, much higher over time than buying, you know, when the market's already at all-time highs, you know. So I have to say,
what's your thesis on Zoom? I mean, you said you were buying it in. I mean,
well, it's not a big investment. My thesis of Zoom is if I ran Zoom, I could come up with 10 more ways to monetize this so easily, like with ads in the screens and roll. And I think you could do such cool, like, I think for education, it could be revolutionary. I think it's also from a friend's perspective, when you think about music, like a lot of stuff the music community is starting to do, and having concerts and things like that. So there's so much opportunity with this. Is basically a video platform if you plug it in with more stuff. So Zoom is highly valued, but I don't think this goes away. I think this is like Facebook in a way.
Well, I mean, technologically speaking, it's almost equivalent to WebEx, right? I mean,
kind of. It just never worked.
You're the same guy, right?
It just never worked that good. Like, I've used so many video conference stuff that I don't like. Like, I don't like Skype that much, you know, and you know, if a grandmother can figure this out to do a knitting club thing, you know, you've got something here, you know.
Piper Chat changed it when they did Piper Chat and they started doing that gallery.
Totally.
And the Zoom people saw that.
Totally. I'm definitely buying into streaming services. You know, boy, I bought more Netflix again too. I haven't bought Netflix in a long time, and I was like, you know, they're just killing it right now, and they don't have to pay for expensive shows. Their production stopped. I mean, Netflix might actually report like a really big profit because of this. You know,
they will.
Yeah.
So Ross, this is a question for you. I think that like things are going to change after this. Like, we're not going to go back to how we were before. And talking about Netflix and other streaming services is like one thing, but what do you think is going to be the investment opportunities going forward?
Let me jump in here, Ross, because you know I've got a strong opinion on this. So I've been in the aging in place technology field for a long time. So probably the last 10 years, starting with Intel. I got their first medical device cleared through Food and Drug that was an aging in place remote monitoring device. And the ongoing problem has been with all the remote telehealth, remote monitoring, blood pressure, all those types of things, the ongoing problem has been doctors have been unable to figure out how to make money doing that. And so they've been resistant to prescribing that. Now, the one avenue that we've made progress in over the years is the payers, the big insurance companies will pay for it, because it's to their benefit to monitor once somebody's discharged, to monitor. But what we're seeing now, because all my clients are in this space right now, is everybody's flipping over to remote healthcare.
Yeah.
Because they have to. And
10
I
years
think
late.
probably happening here is that these 10 years of getting the market softened up for this and accepting it and learning about it is that this is going to be much more accepted going forward. So the companies that are putting out remote telehealth products, and I'm not just talking about video conferencing, that's great, but I'm talking about where you have a health session and your doctor is monitoring your blood pressure, pulse ox, et cetera, daily, or they are recording
like Apple Watch integration and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. Well, even more
Bonnie,
than
I'll be honest, I think that's overkill, personally. I think the video conferencing end of it is what, and let me finish. The video
I'm going to
conferencing
tell you
end
real
is gonna
facts.
fix. Pardon?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you real facts, though, some real things I've seen happen.
Okay, all right.
And I get what you're saying, because that's exactly what I thought when Intel hired me I was their first medical device employee, right? And when they hired me and everybody was coming up and saying, oh, we're going to make such a difference. I'm so excited to be working on this. And I'm thinking, oh, come on, it's not an implantable, it's not life support, it's not, everybody settle down, right? And what I saw happen with the people where we had it rolled out is that people who were on the edge health-wise started changing two things happened. One, they started changing their behavior, how they ate and how they took care of themselves, because they knew their doctor was seeing their measurements daily. Yeah. And it would get flagged if they changed. The other thing that changed were the caregivers did not feel so all alone anymore. And there was a huge, and I totally changed my opinion on remote monitoring once I saw these patient groups changing. So I mean, I'm just watching now sales going up and orders being placed and no more on the fence. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
What are the companies you're talking about?
What are the companies?
Well, you want to hear what I have to say from the other end of that?
Yeah, go, please do.
Because you're talking about remote monitoring, which essentially is going to be like a little mini IoT set up to monitor vitals and that of specific patients, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's more than that, though.
Okay, but in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, plus AI. Don't leave out the AI.
Sure. And I love that you brought that up. That's going to actually bolster my case. If you think about the number of patients that walk into a family practice office every day, and they get their blood pressure, weight, pulse, all that shit's mostly irrelevant. With a 2-minute video conference with your doctor, them or AI, they're going to likely be able to diagnose you to tell you whether you should go to an urgent care center and have somebody take your vitals, or if we should send somebody out to you right now to take your vitals. I believe we're covering, the people that need to be monitored. That's 10% of people?
No. So
let me hear. Come on. That have no home nursing?
I agree there's a use case, as you're saying. But you also need to take into effect, let's just say it's and I've invested in this one company and they're not public, so I'm not trying to sell it, but you're just monitoring movement within an apartment for a senior so that you can intervene if something happens.
For a senior.
This is one use
That's
case.
a lot of our population.
I have a lot of thoughts on that to interject when you two are done.
Can I finish though?
I'm done, I'll mute.
Can I finish? Okay, thank you. So what we found with the remote monitoring at home for just a senior, and I'm not talking about for health conditions, just for have they fallen, are they going in the kitchen, is that we've been able to pick up indicators that a UTI, for instance, has begun a urinary tract infection, because all of a sudden their behavior at night, they're getting up more often. They still don't have any symptoms of it, but a clinician is able to intervene more quickly because the indicators that something has changed are there. Then there's, the people with COPD. There are the people with high blood pressure. There are diabetics. So we could go down the list.
I got to interrupt you, Bonnie. I have to interrupt you. I apologize. You're talking about things that are a decade away, and being able to talk to your doctor over Zoom can happen tomorrow.
All right, let's move forward. I think there's a better way to look at this.
It's not a decade away. The products are there. The products are there right now.
It's the way that technology is changing to serve needs. And I mean, I'm going to have to say, because I work with the Jewish Home of the Aging, we have 5,000 people we're dealing with remotely who don't have room in the home. And these types of services are going to revolutionize care. I have no doubt in my mind. In fact, we've moved a big amount of money out of military and defense into healthcare products and devices just this last week or two, because just like if this is the healthcare 9/11, I don't need to own defense and military. I'm not that worried about killing the Taliban, right? I'm much more worried about killing viruses and creating healthcare solutions that we clearly are so underinvested in our healthcare solutions in this country. I mean, there's going to be billions and billions spent on solutions just from the government alone. But this is going to, I think, hasten a whole new way of thinking about efficiency.
It's a tipping point. It's a tipping point.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we've moved millions and millions of dollars into products.
This industry has been pushing and pushing and pushing for about 10 years, and we're here. And it's happening.
So I'd like to interject. I'd like to interject.
Mary, what were you trying to say?
Thank you. So as a big consumer of healthcare, I'm a consumer of healthcare myself, my family. I was a medical and durable power of attorney for 3 family members who unfortunately were medically complex and passed away. It's been a big part of my life for the last 10 years. And what I've been seeing over and over and over again from healthcare providers is we have faster, more efficient ways of doing this, but we can't get Medicare or insurance companies to pay for it. And we just had a huge step change in, so I'm kind of like the work from home analogy. So many employers just all of a sudden allowed their employees to work from home. Even though employees were clamoring for it forever, and there were all these, we can't watch you and whatnot. But now it's happened, and it's not going to, when we go back to work, it's not going to be 100% like it is now, but it's going to be more than it was before. And that's the big benefit that I see in healthcare. We've gotten so many comments from healthcare providers, and particularly in mental health care. It's so hard to find the right providers, and it's 2 hours in traffic.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
And people give up. And if that is allowed to be funded by video now, that's huge.
I'll give you an example. I have a client who's an emergency room doctor right now, God bless her, in Central Valley area of California. And one of the things she was telling me, because I talk to her a lot because I'm trying to get an idea of what's happening, and she was saying, like, it's so amazing. It's been like so quiet because we used to get 30% of the people coming in didn't need to be coming in, but they're not coming in anymore and clogging up the emergency rooms over a hurt knee or something that easily could be done through a teledoc system or some sort of
Sing it, Ross, sing it, baby.
No, but I think,
well, and there's another interesting,
I think also cleanliness. Like, so here's another change. Like, think about how dirty everything is, whether it's in a hospital or in a restaurant, bars, whatever. Like, the expectation for cleanliness, I think, is going to change in the future, and in space in restaurants. So I think the restaurant industry is going to be forever impacted by this. I think the days of stuffed into these tables, where how many tables can we stuff into a little restaurant, I think those days are kind of numbered. So we're going to thin the herd there in the restaurant industry. People are going to want booths. They're going to want to sit in their own space. Instead of taking a dirty rag and just like wiping a table, people are going to want it actually cleaned. I think in the future, airports, to go through an airport, they're going to check for weapons and they're going to check your health. I think you're going to have to be healthy. I think the pressure on corporations to get people to work when they're sick is going to be over. There will be sick pay, maybe unlimited sick pay, like, for people. So we're not having sick people out of their homes, whatever it may be. So I think we're going to have a cultural change. If you're going to go to a concert, they're going to search for a guy's gun. Don't you want to know the people at the concert aren't sick? So I think we're going to give up a little bit of our privacy on healthcare for the better knowledge that we're in a room of people that aren't sick. But I think
voluntary.
It will be voluntary, but I think places will say, look, I want to have a bar and restaurant where everybody can have a good time and not be worried that there's some sick person gonna kill somebody's grandparents.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question though. How come we haven't been able to do that with, let's say, a public place? As a restaurant owner, what if I want to run a restaurant where my patrons are not allowed to bring a gun into the restaurant? Why can we suddenly do that with health?
Wait, we're getting way off.
Why not?
I don't want to get into politics. I want to talk about investing.
This is not. This really isn't feeling like a party so much.
So I think when you think about,
some of us are partying.
Bonnie, I agree. We're gonna shift.
Let's just derail this into a party.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
boring.
I think if you think about the next 5 years, and this is a reset of our whole society for the next 5 years. Like, what are the most interesting opportunities that come out of it? I do agree that Tesla comes out ahead. I do agree that it hastens the EV and the climate argument even further. I do think the pressure on fossil fuels will permanently impact the market for fossil fuels. I was asked, they said, don't you think low oil prices will hurt Tesla? And I said, it doesn't matter what oil prices are because it's still more expensive than driving a Tesla. So why would you?
Yeah, one of the things that's really, it's underappreciated how much of a pain in the butt is for that single mom on her way to work after dropping the kids off, realizing that the tank is empty.
What do you know about single moms, buddy? What do you know?
Well, I know a few of them. I had one. One of them was about to buy my car. She's a restaurant.
There you go.
She was about to buy my car.
I do. I think for single men too, it's a pain to get gas. And but I
statistically, they don't do as much laundry is the only reason I mention it. So statistically.
Hey, listen, in LA, every role has been reversed. Where I live, there women run the show, babe. The guys. Yeah, guys are out doing the chores.
Your wife is beside you right now, right?
But yeah. No, in my household, nobody's in charge. It's.
Regardless of the price, you can't get back that 15 minutes on the way to work. You can't get back that 15 minutes on the way to work having to stop at the gas
station.
Not
to mention, have you ever been to a gas station and thought, this is such a pleasant, clean environment to hang out in? It's like the dirtiest, grossest places you could have to stop, and it's like, great, I got to touch this thing, spray oil.
Didn't Eli make that great video about how many friends have you made at a gas station, right? How many friends have we made at superchargers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Is Viv still on? What's going on in Europe?
Well,
just under house arrest.
I know, Viv.
Yeah, dude.
Viv, your video is off.
Yeah, she.
Yeah, I was getting my
That's better.
So.
Like the fire in the background there.
Yeah.
Is that what it looks like in Europe right now?
There's two from Europe.
I'm curious how things are. I'm curious how things are in Europe.
Well, we're quarantined, so yeah, we're staying at home, working from home. It's boring. It's nothing to do. So I just hope it's over soon. But it doesn't seem like it.
Well, there's one thing you can do, Viv. You can praise the Lord.
Love it.
Oh, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing. 35 people stuck in their homes, no matter where they are in the world.
It's great. Funny. I love it.
So you guys want to do this again?
So many Zooms and conference calls that I actually need 2 of them, and the battery only lasts 8 hours. So,
This is why I bought the stock. I didn't buy it based on valuation or anything. I was like, man, Zoom is like Google now, you know?
One of the areas that is going to change quite a bit is the healthcare, well, the insurance companies and the way insurance is done.
Yes.
Let's forget about possibility of universal healthcare, because that's actually quite a possibility now based on what's happening. But other companies like that triumvirate company with Amazon, JP Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway, that new company is in a position now to completely change something if they do it right. So I'm sure they're having meetings. Also, Amazon is now getting into the medical business by in regards to delivering kits, and they're looking at doing that worldwide and being able to deliver kits to homes.
Well, let's be real. The healthcare system and the way people get paid and the whole like thing is the biggest screwed up piece of crap that any convoluted person could ever come up with in the history of anything. It's literally unbelievable. If you just go to your doctor for a regular checkup, just the whole billing process for that is crazy. And that's just billing, you know?
This is the most American thing that I ever heard.
Dude, it's like, so broken. It's so broken. Like, I can't even tell you. And we spend so much money on it too. So much. I mean, the bills we pay for healthcare, and then you go
and some of the most effective healthcare is not covered under any kind of insurance plans. In Western medicine, we do like really, really great job with trauma, but preventive healthcare is terrible.
Yeah, and covering doulas and things like that. You know, they just don't do it.
Naturopaths. Let's be honest. I mean, it's gonna be that way.
Well, if you let a bunch of profiteers figure out a system for themselves,
exactly.
Look at United Health stock. Look at UNH. This thing has gone up and up and up.
Disgusting.
And I'm like, how can you run a healthcare system and continually make greater and greater profits and provide great care? It's impossible.
I don't know. You can't.
You can't.
But you know, it's interesting though. That's easy to visualize in healthcare. But what we're seeing with this shutdown right now, it's really true in every industry. It's just more so in healthcare.
Well,
does that make sense or not? No.
Hey guys, you know what company is going to disrupt and improve healthcare a lot? Tesla.
Now that they're making ventilators?
No, full self-driving. The number of people who die on roads. Right?
No. Well, self-driving never, ever going to happen.
There hasn't been a car accident in LA in a week.
You can't say never. Like nobody.
Okay, where's the eject from Zoom?
There will be a different way to travel.
Where's the eject from Zoom button?
I could.
Email me. Email me.
Eject from Zoom button. There's absolutely every way that full self-driving is coming, like very, very soon.
Yep.
And you know what? Humans are fucking shitty drivers. It's just amazing how often you almost get
paying attention.
Here's what the problem is, Ross. Let me tell you what the problem is. The problem is the last 500 feet. Self-driving will be great, but it's the last 500 feet. And it's not self-driving if you can't pull into my oddly shaped driveway after 10 tries and park every time.
I guarantee you the computer will be better than humans.
If that could have happened, it would have already happened. They've been at this for how long?
No, it's relying on different sensors right now.
Yeah, no.
It's
Look at
different.
how busy
They're
Home
not
Depot
using
is
the
right now,
cameras
guys.
for summon right now.
Hey,
Sorry.
even if
Turn
I
into
admit,
a fight, not a dance party.
Tesla's not flying because of AI and autopilot. There's no way. Tesla's winning for other reasons, not just autopilot.
Even if I submit to you that full self-driving is never going to happen, okay, I'll say I'll agree with you for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to also account for the number of crashes that are reduced because of full self-driving.
Oh no, I'm totally on board with that. I'm totally on board with that.
Well, first of all, I was just driving my car, and it won't even let me go out of a fucking lane without a warning.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the safest car ever built
100%.
today.
Yes.
It just gets better. It just gets better.
But what my point is this: I'm all behind self-driving, but it's going to be something where you're going to have to back your car out, or somebody remotely is going to have to back your car out, get on the road, and then you can shift it into self-driving, and then you go all the way to your destination. But that last 500 feet, it's never going to be able to be done self-driving.
I'll tell you a story. When Ford had the Model T, it would get stuck in the roads because they weren't paved. And the guys and the horses would ride by and laugh at them and say, "Ha, your horseless carriage is a piece of crap. Never going to be driving around on those things. Thank God for this horse."
But my only point is this: by the time we get that figured out, and before that shift can be made for all those last 500 feet, we'll be transporting in different ways. That's my point.
It's happening in like a year in my mind. So it's like,
you think so?
No, dude. I've been in the full self-driving Tesla. I've seen what it can do.
Put your money where your mouth is, Ross.
I do. I have $20 million in Tesla. So
he does.
That's a party.
So you want to see the Ross?
Are you a client of Ross?
My number one.
Dude.
On that note, does anybody have any ideas as to when the ride hailing is going
I know,
to
Mary, that's such a good point. Yeah. I was thinking about that because right now a lot of people are being laid off, and this would be a great time for a Tesla to come in, and if they manage to get the fleet out at a lower price. Are you talking about the driver-based ride hailing?
The driver. Did anybody else read the ARC? I forget the guy's name. Winton.
That was a transition. That was a transition, right?
Yeah. So that's the transition. So that is Tesla launching its own Uber platform. You have a driver. You get more of us out there driving the car. Similar like Uber, you could do a destination. I'm going to work. When we go to work, take somebody along the way, and then there's a driver in the car, and then the driver is, the car is still collecting all that data. But it's going to do 2, 3, 5 times as many miles as you would driving on your own.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much efficiency that can be made from the.
By the way, guys, my latest thing that I do, I was Yang Gang. So until like a month ago, what I did was every time I went to restaurants, I would strike up conversation with waiters about Yanging and leave a big tip about Andrew Yang. But that's over. But now my latest is when I sit in an Uber or a Lyft, if it's a long enough ride, I start the conversation about Tesla fleet sharing, and I managed, out of like 10 or 15 conversations, I managed 3 Uber drivers to say, "Really? When is that going to happen? How can I join?" And one of them gave his phone number to me and said, "Can you, I told him that I closely follow Tesla all the time. And he said, "Hey, can you let me know when Tesla releases? I want to jump right away because I paid off my car already. So I don't care about, recouping costs on my car." So if that happens, even that transitionary phase is going to be pretty big dent to Lyft and or Uber. And I think people will jump onto Tesla if it means that they can make more money or save more money.
But maybe Lyft or Uber doesn't really get through this very well,
They won't. Let me give you a quick business model, okay? Take the city of Los Angeles, add 1 parking spot to every bus stop in the city of LA. There's 30,000 of them. Put 60,000 Tesla on the road that can do automated driving between every bus stop in the city. There's no last on 500 feet. You could put the wheels on the ground tomorrow with $3 billion. Pays for itself in a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I have to say, my husband and I, we have 2 Teslas, and we do a little bit of ride share. We've both been sitting at home lately and doing a little bit more. And we're seeing a transition. So people who used to do public transportation are not doing it. They're afraid of the germs and whatnot. Even though overall ridership and drivers, there are a lot of drivers who aren't out there right now either. There's a shift. People are getting away from that mass public transportation, even though it's available. Buses are driving around empty.
Yeah, but I think in the end, it's all about costs for mass public transportation. So that they'll be back, kind of. But I think
segue to robotaxi, which will be
I think that's going to be a more complicated thing. Robo taxis versus full self-driving.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a long transition period where we'll have full self-driving with somebody still sitting in the driver's seat, but the car will drive itself and they'll just be monitoring it until there's enough knowledge where then we don't need that anymore.
Hang on though, Ross. Let me build on that. We're always going to need that body in the car in about 80% of the cases, and there's no problem with that. You need that body in the car. This is sort of a last 500 feet. You might need that body in the car to walk up a delivery or to help somebody with their groceries getting loaded into.
They're going to change the whole system so you won't need a person anymore. Yeah.
Pardon?
Do you play any video games?
I do not.
Yeah, you should see the level of computer rendering in a game like Battlefield or...
I'm talking physical though.
That's what the car is doing, is it's rendering literally a live video game of what's happening.
Oh, I know. I'm
through it, and it can totally do it. It's not that hard actually to do if your data is accurate.
No, wait a minute though. I know, but who's going to take the food from the car up to apartment 401 on the 4th floor?
Nobody.
People aren't going to walk their ass down to the car. You need a body.
That's where you get innovation as well. I mean, there's going to be other systems that come into place to make that possible.
But what's so wrong with that? There's because that person doesn't even necessarily have to have a driver's license. They can simply be portable labor that's in that car. If they have to go into a laundry place to pick up your shirts, put them in the car, deliver them to you, and then take them up to your apartment. Certain things can be totally AI, but there's certain functions that I believe it's going to pay to have a body in that car.
Well, of course, there might be some functions, but I think what I try to do when I think about technology is eliminate barriers of thought from current life. So, like, what could it be? Not what all the limitations are to making it happen. But
if I could just say something, Ross, you don't know me very well, but please go on.
No, so it's kind of like all these people who are looking at space travel. Should I invest in Virgin Galactic? And I'm like, dude, that sounds like the worst business model I've ever heard. Like, my customers are all rich people. I'm going to take them in a dangerous plane up to the end of space. What could go wrong,
It's an interstellar cruise ship.
Who would have thought that?
Right. Like, I was watching Star Trek. It's like no big deal, right? But so I'm not going to say that's never going to happen, because in my mind, at some point, we're going to be able to leave the atmosphere pretty easily. I do think that, probably in my lifetime. But I don't think in the investment time horizon of the next 5 years, that's a great business model. Not because I don't think it's going to happen, because I think it's too dangerous.
And it's not going to make money in the next 5.
No, I think if it worked, it would make money because we'd all want to go to space. But I would go to space, for $200,000. Sounds good to me. But I'm more scared of dying,
If you're not going to space, that's the thing. You're only going to very low suborbital.
I know.
And for a few minutes.
I know. I know. I might as well just do ecstasy. I know. But I'm seriously, I haven't done this since high school though. So
So we took this big tour on data and rendering and whatnot. What about 5G? What are any new thoughts on that? Is that necessary?
I pushed it back. I pushed it back, and we sold our Verizon and Qualcomm this week. 5G is a really important innovation that needs to happen. But I think right now, from a consumer perspective, I don't think people are like, dude, I need a new really expensive cell phone. I just don't think people care that much. I think from a logistics management, warehouse, industrial perspective, there's a huge upside to that. But I'm scared we're going to see investment go down because the commercial side won't be that viable. And it's sort of like, is this our priority?
It's just too far down the road.
I think 5G is going to take longer. I think it's definitely pushed back a year.
Nobody needs the bandwidth that 5G provides, literally anywhere.
Here's the thing, though, Ross. So one of the things that gets interesting is because we're now stuck in this work from home environment, a lot of people are stuffing up the bandwidth with all of their neighborhoods.
But have you had any problems? Any major issues?
Oh, I have problems all the time. I'm actually
Yeah.
surprised this whole conference is working so
Oh wow,
well.
mine's been flawless, and that's.
You know, you're breaking up with
in
your
my
flawless
neighborhood. We're
internet. But what you're saying is very true
Cheers.
in that all the systems in the world would go down right now if Netflix didn't turn down their bandwidth. So Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, they've all turned down the bandwidth that we're getting.
Only in
streaming
Europe, though.
services. No,
Only
here
in
too.
Europe.
Here in the US too.
Not sure about that.
Source.
I'm just saying, like, the internet is extremely strained right now. And so what you're saying is true, that 5G has a lot of need. But I also think it's just about priorities of those companies investing billions of dollars into an upgrade when it's really hard to borrow money, you know?
Here's what I see. The networks aren't strained. All they really are is, you know, the peak period you used to have from 6 to 9 with Netflix. It's just at basically 24/7 now.
Are you the guy on Twitter who argues with everybody? I just want to know.
If you keep making arguments, we're gonna have to kick you out. Because we're supposed to be having a party right now. Okay, man?
I'm partying.
You're like
This is the life of the
pays for my Twitter. You're like the guy that Twitter pays just to keep engagement going. You know?
No, I'm the fucking founder of Pay For It, man. I'm not lying.
No, it's
Hey,
awesome.
Ross. Hey, you guys, I got a. Oh, go ahead.
Let me bring up another interesting discussion. I think Chamath Palihapitiya had tweeted about this, just regarding supply chain of batteries and all that with this COVID crisis, where people are now reevaluating, you know, just about every company's supply chain goes through China, correct? So when something like this happens, Chamath tweeted something saying, I think it's going to be more localized now. Like, people are going to have to think about this, like de-risking their supply chain.
Yes and no. Okay, so this has been an issue I've faced personally with my wife's company, and we're seeing with a lot of companies that we're invested in. So there's I think about this two ways. One way is this proves how interdependent we all are, and so the solution isn't how do we just like build everything that China does here in the United States so we don't ever have to deal with China again. Actually, China's pretty good at stuff too. You know, it's not like, oh, we'll just use China because, you know, like it's a pretty good place to manufacture stuff.
And very cost effective.
Totally. And then you have like, so if you decide to scrap what I consider the very complex, globally integrated supply chains and try to start over, I think what you get is a much more expensive product, any way you look at it. So my wife looked at those decisions and then we started talking to a lot of people in China to source to other factories in China. And that's been really helpful. You know, China's a big country, and we found a factory in the north that wasn't affected. And the way we found it is they were fucking pirating my wife's tool. So we decided to call them and be like, since you're pirating it, can you make us some? And now they're our best friend. Welcome to business in China. You know,
segue into our broken patent law system.
It is what it is, dude. It's like dealing with Baba is like, although they're getting better. Honestly, they are getting better because they have to. But that being said, so what I can't say this guy's name, Klamath, right, or whatever his name is.
Chamath.
He's one of the smartest guys out there, I think. You know, as far as just when I listen to him, I'm like, dude, this fucking guy is so smart. I don't disagree with his logic at all. I just don't think it'll work. So my whole philosophy is that the world is small. Like, we have the internet, like this conversation, people all over the world can connect. We can all do business together and be way bigger markets, way more profitability. Look at Tesla is a perfect example of a company that built a second Tesla in China and basically doubles the size of the business, right? Like, if I could do financial services in China, you know, wow, what an opportunity, right? And so it's like, how do we all work together? I don't think these things should set that back. I don't.
Ross, here's a scenario like this could, like, regarding Tesla's battery supply chain, right? Like, a lot of the raw resource, lithium, for instance, is coming from Latin America, Argentina, Chile. and then I think some in Australia, but all of that, the chemical treating process almost entirely happens in China. Then it goes to Japan. From Japan, it's flown over to Nevada, made into cell battery pack. It's like a worldwide thing. What if something like Canada took on some of like that process that China was doing, and you keep it in that hemisphere at least? Like it's like de-risking somewhat, like your supply.
Yeah,
supply
but
chain.
like, so the risk before was that Donald Trump created a trade war with China for a good reason per se, but it's like, okay, now we dealt with that. Now the second thing is some random pandemic comes around and wipes us all out. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, are we going to try to rebuild a system that's incredibly efficient right now? There's a reason that all those places go to those places because of skill sets, efficiency, and cost. And so it wouldn't be doing that if that wasn't the cheapest way to do that. So that's why I think if you try to rejigger it and do it in Canada, have you ever tried to do business in Canada? Good luck. Okay. It's not that easy. You know, maybe it's easier to just deal with the Japanese. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, even though it's right next to you, it doesn't mean it's easier. And so, I think that reordering the way, especially huge businesses, I mean, you think about a supply chain to build a battery, you know, I'm going to start over now, you know, it's easier to just fix it, you know? So I do
Keep
think—
in mind, though, that one of the reasons that it's cheaper to send that material all across the world and back is because we have so many unpriced externalities.
Yeah, you mean like tariffs and bullshit.
No, like carbon offsets or you know, the cost of carbon to the environment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't do business on that level in that I don't have to, thank God I'm in a service business, so I don't have to source products like my wife all over the globe. And I can tell you there's positives and negatives to every region for sourcing for different products. And it's probably one of the more, I used to think I wanted to be in a product business because I thought service businesses were hard. And now I'm like, no way. It's super hard and complex to deal with advanced supply chains, and all the factors you're talking about are part of the calculus, you know? So I just don't think we reorder the whole world. I think right now the most important thing that the world does is figure out how to get past this disease and how to avoid having it happen again. You know, if you look at the cost, it would seem logical that the first thing we want to do is to improve living standards across the globe. This is a byproduct of horrible living standards, I think. And countries like the United States and China, with our massive wealth, need to have higher standards of living for all people in the nations, and higher standards of cleanliness in the way that our food supply chain, for example, or medical, and strict limits of bio and chemical warfare and things like that. I think we need to ask ourselves how this happened and how do we prevent it from happening again.
Hey, I just want to make a little announcement. Sorry to interrupt you, Ross, but we've got a birthday girl today. That's one of the important members of our Tesla community. That's Elizabeth. So she's wearing her hat there. Looks like Statue of Liberty. So happy birthday, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us.
Shall we sing? Shall we sing?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
Glasses.
Birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Elizabeth. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
And cheers.
This is going to be the new birthday norm going forward.
Nice. Can we hear Gali tell something about maybe S&P? What's going to happen?
Gali, can we hear your voice?
S&P. Good luck on the S&P.
What up?
You're muted.
Time for change.
I tried unmuting him, but it didn't work. There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Gavin.
Hey, good man.
I miss you, bro.
Zoom party. Gaming chair.
Ross, you hate Peloton? I'm so bummed.
No, I don't hate Peloton. First of all, I don't hate Peloton. I don't, look.
Well, he just goes down the beach. He doesn't need
I spin too. I have a bike, and I ordered it. It was made in China, $280. It was incredible. It's been great. My
200.
my thing about Peloton is there's stuff that are great products that we like, and then there's businesses that I don't really want to be in. And so like Peloton, if you want to spend $2,000 for a bike and have your class and all that, I think it's great. Like they do a great job. It's a high quality product, and if you want to buy a Porsche bike and
But Ross, it's a service play, right? Like I can.
They're not going to make any money on that.
You don't think so?
Isn't that where they make most
there's
of
no,
their
there's no
money?
barrier to entry. Like I'm in the fitness capital of the world in Venice and Santa Monica. And so I see every fitness company, every Soul Cycle, every class. And you know how much competition they have now that everybody's stuck in their home? Every fitness person is now doing online classes like Peloton. Every single one. I mean, it's like there's zero barrier to entry. I was joking around about starting my own called Spinning and Stocks in the morning. And, you can go on and spin with me for 30 minutes because I watch CNBC between 6:30 and 7. We can spin for 30 minutes and I'll tell you what I'm looking at on CNBC, So I just don't think there's a barrier to entry to the class thing. I think you have to be constantly innovative in fitness. Fitness changes constantly. People want the new thing. They want the new diet. So Peloton's in right now, but for $2,000, it's so easy. Soul Cycle's coming out with a bike now too. They have great classes. How do they protect their business?
The problem is you don't have to have a Peloton bike. You can just buy a $200 bike and just sign up for the classes online.
Yeah,
I like that. It's better.
Guys,
I
quick
like
question.
just the online better.
So my wife and I have been cycling quite a bit for exercise now. And like 4 years ago, I bought the Saunders e-bike. 5 years ago, this company started. They make it's like e-bike company.
Right.
It's a Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Great bike. And we've been using it a lot more. So I've been thinking about this quite a bit. But then in my head, yesterday I was writing, I was like, what would be epic is putting a couple of bikes in the back of my Cybertruck, plugging it in so it charges when I go to certain locations. So do you think Tesla would ever, I know Elon said no motorbikes because he got into an accident or whatever, but what about the last mile or whatever?
No, he's going to make
very,
it.
very, very niche.
He's going to make bicycle.
He's going to make the ATV.
But what about a bicycle?
It's a commodity.
So yeah, I was going to say there's so many electric bike stores in LA right now. And, quite frankly, I like actually using my legs too. So I think electric bikes are really cool for certain things, especially like mountain bike riding, and you can go up now and not just down. I just think there's so many companies struggling already making electric bikes. They'd be better off just buying one struggling and just putting a Tesla on it,
And also, Tesla has been very good about sticking to their mission on accelerating, getting us out of the fossil fuel. Yeah, and by
to me. A bike would feel gimmicky to me coming from Texas. It would be like the flamethrower.
Dude, the flamethrower was the coolest thing ever. And
but why don't they put out 10,000 e-bikes then and sell them for $5,000 each? Just like a flamethrower. Why not?
They can sell $60,000 cars if they can make those,
All right. I'm just saying, that's my point. It's gimmicky.
But isn't the quad gimmicky? Isn't the quad gimmicky a little bit?
It would steal batteries.
I mean, Elon Musk is a fraud at the end of the day. We all know that.
My favorite thing. That's my favorite thing. Although I am sad that Tesla Q has died.
But I'm wearing that. You can even drive that fraud.
I love it. I love it.
That's great.
I love it. So, oh my God. I do miss that the Tesla people have all lost all their money now, and we kind of won that battle, and it was kind of fun.
Well, their internet's all shut off.
I was going to post this picture. They were doing some foreclosure auction down the street, and I was going to be like Tesla Q and post it. And there's rarely a foreclosure auction down my street. That's a rare day. And maybe there'll be more now. But they're but it's so amazing what we've all been through with Tesla over the last couple years. And when you look at their success, and that's why I think the stock's a good buy.
Sorry, Ross. Sorry to interrupt. Have a look at Matthew.
Matthew Simmons. I gotta unmute you, Matthew. I gotta hear what it sounds like.
Where is Matthew? Oh, there he is.
Are you gonna go out?
Oh,
I'm
God,
about
he's
to.
gonna go outside.
Yeah, let's see it, man.
Gotta work this thing. Hang on.
Hey,
Bring it
Eli,
on.
is Eli still on?
See my messy
He
ass.
has a flamethrower.
Inside,
So-
Matthew.
Well, while he's doing that,
got the
who
flamethrower?
forgot to invite
Levi.
Greg?
Levi's gonna help me out
Fire?
here.
Yeah, where's
Levi.
Vincent? Where's Vincent?
Who's in the Michigan hat?
Vincent couldn't make it because he doesn't check his messages or email.
Didn't make it?
Oh, no.
No,
I
nobody.
told him,
Oh, they're
I was like,
partying in
Vincent,
China. Oh yeah, it's all
15
fun
minutes
and games
before the
over
meeting.
there.
It's like, dude, can you tell me sooner? It's like, I did. I emailed you, messaged you. So no.
And nobody thought about.
I'm gonna have to fly to Beijing just to go out on the town.
Nobody thought about inviting
No,
Greg.
we're out of gas. Oh, there it goes.
There we go.
Hey,
That's awesome.
Oh, was that a gimmick?
I'm so mad I
That's not
couldn't
a
buy
gimmick.
one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Yeah, coronavirus killer.
Yeah.
Corona zombie killer.
Yeah.
That thing makes some absolutely amazing s'mores. It is the best s'mores maker.
Flamethrower.
It's not a flamethrower.
It's great.
No, it's not a flamethrower. It is in fact a roofing torch.
No,
There you go.
I got to give Elon credit too. He's like rushing ventilators back and forth, and it's like, well, if you're going to shut down my factory, then I'm going to go and like help you. And then somebody ran this headline like,
Hey,
it
spread
was
apart,
like
you two.
virus denier Musk
Yeah.
delivering ventilators.
Bloomberg.
That was Bloomberg.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've called him out and used the word fuck like 10 times and then Elon retweeted it or
Elon,
something.
like,
Dude, I was
dumped
so
on it,
mad.
too.
I was so mad. I didn't even expect Elon to see it, actually. I just
I know.
ranted.
It's great. Well, we got to
Then
stick
he's
up for
like,
our friends.
Elon.
this is so messed up.
Elon could like
tagged
Elon
Bloomberg,
would
too.
like save a baby's life that fell out of a high rise, and it would be like Elon Musk almost injures baby. It's like literally like the craziest
Right.
stuff. It's
Baby
like,
suffers trauma while in Elon Musk's care.
I know, poor Elon. I always feel bad for Elon because it's like he really does try hard, man.
I know,
He's
dude.
such a good
Always.
guy,
Yeah.
Like to say that he has this like disingenuous intent is just you don't know Elon,
Well, one
Like,
thing,
he just totally cares, and he's so successful, but he totally cares, and he wants to make a difference in humanity so much so, and so it's just like it really kills me how much negativity are placed on him from other people for whatever reason, when I think his intent is so obviously good, but I'm happy he's trying to help.
It's like guys like Martin Luther King or whatever, when they're in the act of doing these great things for society,
Well, he
for
got shot.
civilization,
I mean, that's
yeah.
worse. Right.
Nobody gets Elon. I think I've said this on Third Row, even in 30 years, so 2050, one day we're going to be celebrating Elon Musk Day. I don't know if it's an international holiday or national, but till then it's going to be this exactly what you said. Like no one's going to give him his credit. It's going to take 25 to 30 years for people to realize.
I thought that's what
Totally
we
It's Interplanetary Day.
Brother,
What are we
for
doing
me,
right now?
Yes.
every
Dude,
day
that's a
is
good idea.
the Elon Appreciation Day. Every day.
420, the day of the
420.
horizon, the Deepwater Horizon blowout, and Elon Musk Day. I say we call it.
On the flip side, I'm sure we all watch like Lex Fridman's podcast, and it's so easy for us to all think, Elon Musk's a genius, he's a smart guy, and I try not to idolize him. I just try to appreciate what he does and like
I was
really
pretty pissed
listen.
at him too. Yeah.
No, but like it's so
buddy.
easy for us to just say he's a genius, but when you go watch Lex Fridman show, everybody that comes on his show is a freaking genius, and every one of those people, they place Elon Musk on a different level. That level of genius is actually kind of missed. On one side, we see a lot of shit, but all
years.
like all the
Guys.
general geniuses, like everybody blows my mind who comes on Lex Fridman.
I've got
and they're all like,
I've got an idea. Let's not wait 30 years, starting in 2020. So in
There
a
you
few
go.
weeks on 420, Viv, you need to spearhead this. We'll call it here.
Elon Musk Day?
We're gonna start Elon Musk Day starting from today. We're gonna appreciate Elon while he's alive, while he's
Let's
doing
do
this.
it. Let's
Even if it's within this small community.
Okay,
like,
so
let's
here's
appreciate the
another
guy.
reason we have to do it.
Bonnie.
Here's another reason why it has to start now. So,
Wait,
so I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you guys all know this.
Oh, nice, Bonnie.
But this 420 is the only time in our entire lifetimes that it will be a whole month, 420. And now we're all going to be home. So
and high.
Exactly. And so it's like it's just perfect time. It's totally.
Why aren't marijuana stocks doing better?
Well, they've got management
Elon
issues.
Bucks.
But we all
Okay,
know.
guys, did we agree? 420, Viv, 420 is Elon Musk Day. 420, starting
Nice.
2020. Elon Musk Day.
$20 bills?
Or Elon Musk month. We have a whole month.
It's
of
Elon
420.
Musk month for this year, and then starting next year it'll be Elon Musk Day.
How do you do this?
Yes.
Love
So
it.
you're
Love it.
downgrading him
It's like this.
from a month to a day.
Well, it's the only time that it's 420 is the whole year, the whole month. So
In the American system, we do it. We write out 4/20 versus
for the next
So
100 years.
does
So in
everybody have
100,
to do at 420 during the whole month of April? You have to do a dab. I think is what happens instead of just
Dab?
getting high.
Like a tab of acid?
No.
No,
Just
dab.
he gets it. He gets it. I just wanted to see who got it.
so we need a new drinking game. Every time Ross mentions drugs, we
Yeah, he didn't get it.
Yeah.
You have to get another bottle.
And I know, I quit so long
He
ago,
didn't
too.
get it.
I
Now
do
it's
have
feeling
lot
like
of
a party.
stories. I do have a lot of good stories. I was a Deadhead for a while. I went to a lot of Dead shows back in the day, and you know, been involved with music my whole life. And but back, you know, two of my claim to fames, one of which is I did hang out with Tim Leary once in a bar with Tim Leary and Danny Sugarman, which was totally a trip.
Ross, look, I have one tattoo.
There you go. And I also hung out with Jack Herrera a couple times, who's sort of the godfather of marijuana. But legalization was one of my personal things growing up because I thought it was like one of the most unjust laws ever. So I am pretty pleased, and we are invested in the cannabis industry. And I do think they should expunge everybody's records and all that kind of stuff.
Because we need them to be growers.
But on another note, you know, I do appreciate everybody coming out. This has been a lot of fun. We're approaching 2 hours, which is a pretty good hangout.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And
I get some credit for that shit.
For sure. It would have only been a 45-minute actual event.
You're welcome. I'm here every month.
You know what? You know, as long as it's good-natured, it's all good. You know what I mean? I think our community is incredible. And I think when history is written about Tesla in 10 years or 15 years, I think what Elon's done is less about Elon and more about us, in that we've taken what he's given us and helped make it into a bigger thing. And he knows that it's us that's doing it. And that's why he spends no money on advertising. And I take a lot of pride in the effort I've made as an investor. So I do have a for-profit motive for it, but like as a human, to try to push sustainable transportation and EVs, because I do think if you're going to think about one thing, I know you guys think I'm crazy, but I do think the earth needed a pause from all the pollution that's been destroying it. And if there's one thing we learned about this pause, is that we have to do a better job moving forward, and pushing Tesla is one way we can do a better job as for humanity moving forward. So it isn't just about money. It's about making changes in our society, you know, because of what we've learned here. And part of it's environmental, and part of it's healthcare, and part of it's human, and part of it's love with our friends and relatives. But if any message, I want to thank you too, as a shareholder and also just as a friend, for being so passionate and helping because beating those guys last year who just wanted to destroy Tesla is probably one of the greatest things that has happened in my career as a stock guy in a long time. And not because we made millions of dollars, which was awesome, but was because we beat people whose only intent was to hurt Tesla and Elon with really no intent for improving society in any way. So,
Exactly.
you know, it's called impact investing. If I can make investments and make a better world out of it, then that's doubly awesome. And so, you know, as much as I appreciate Elon, who just puts enormous effort in every day at work, I appreciate all you guys too, because we're all making a huge difference in the Tesla community.
Preach, brother.
Good,
Thank
Ross.
you, Ross.
420. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
I think we should do another one on 420.
Yeah, 420.
absolutely.
We'll call it Elon Musk Day party.
Yeah,
I love
let's
it.
do it. Let's plan it.
Celebration. Elon Musk Day celebration.
Yeah.
Hey, is there
Excellent.
a way to round up everybody's Twitter handles? Because some of
Yeah.
you I recognize and some of you I don't.
Yeah, maybe it's so fun. We'll send out a bunch of Twitter handles for everybody.
Well,
on
hold
Twitter.
on.
Hey, Ross,
so there's
just
this
call me
chat.
soft. SOF, soft.
Maybe we can share it on the Patreon
Yeah.
page and the
No,
comments
here's
below this
the
announcement.
the group
yeah,
chat.
actually.
So the group chat, you're able to save the group chat. So there's
Nice.
Oh,
really?
So if everybody right
Yeah,
now,
everyone
just put
type
it-
their handle in there.
Oh, and
Okay.
there we go. Okay, good idea.
And then I know Earl wants to have a copy, so hopefully at least one person will remember to save the group chat.
I'll save it.
so do we save it by hitting that thing called file?
No, right.
next
There's
to it.
3 dots right beside it.
I don't know, but please don't count on me to be that person.
Okay,
No, we're counting on stuff.
I heard 3 dots.
Yeah, there's the three
There we
3
go.
dots right after file, and then there should be save in there.
Okay, save chat. Perfect. Thank you.
Right.
Well, don't do it until everybody's done typing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, really cool.
That was quick.
Really cool thing, man. And,
Yeah, this is really fun.
Yeah, so I think Tesla's going to create a great opportunity for people in Q2 from an investment standpoint. So Q2, they'll release their numbers probably on, you know, April, 2nd or something like that, or 1st. And then everybody will try to extrapolate how much money they're going to lose this quarter, and then how much money they're going to lose next quarter. But I think by Q3 they get back on track. So we've had to readjust our estimates, but my price target has always been around 550. So I figure if you're buying under 550, you'll be fine. And I think that eventually we'll be back to $1,000 again next year. And so I think if you can double your money in a year in a stock, that's pretty good. And I think Tesla has outperformed the market by over 30% or 40% year to date. And I think that what happens
since IPO?
No, just this year.
Oh, just this year. Okay.
So if you bought Tesla and you didn't buy any other stock, you're up on the year nicely, And I know people who all they do is own Tesla. I think they're crazy, but they, it's like, oh, I'm up 65%. The market's down, 20.
It's the first stock. It's the first stock I've ever bought.
Well, that's
Same.
a good one. You'll have good stories for your children one day when they say, "Mom, how are we so rich?" And you'll be like, "Well, your mother bought the stock back in the old days." But I swear to God,
actually, my
work-
14-year-old bought a share.
But I tell you, I work with
Nice.
some really wealthy people, and I'll leave you with this thought. And one thing you see with really wealthy people is they'll give you an account and they'll have bought stock. Their grandfather maybe bought the stock, and they never sold
They
it.
have fucking certificates.
Yeah, and they never sold it, and they just never sell it. And I've had clients walk in the door with $5 million in Apple, and they just put 30 grand in Apple long ago and never sold it, never thought about it, never worried about viruses or this or that. And they wake up with $5 million. They're like, $5 million? They're like, yeah, this is worth $5 million, And when I was younger, it was AT&T. People bought AT&T in the 80s. And then I saw them as a kid in the 90s, and they'd have like millions in AT&T and this and that. So the people who own Tesla today, if you put 20 grand, 50 grand in Tesla, and you think about waking up 20 or 30 years from now, what that's going to be worth.
I've definitely sold to customers that have bought their cars from their Tesla stock.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can't believe how easy it is to borrow on margin. Just like at 1% I can borrow the money and not even have to sell the stocks. It's amazing, and make a payment whenever I feel. Seriously.
Great strategy. That's a young person's strategy, by the way.
I mean,
I know, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, but I do think Tesla is one of those companies because I own a lot of Apple, but I've owned it for 20 something years as a professional, and I've ridden this on my career forever. So when you think about how Tesla can just grow for so many years to come, it's a great stock to own, and I think investors will come back to it before they come back to other companies. And
that long-term payout structure for Elon, there's a real legit reason for that, and he knows it.
Oh, totally. He's working his ass off for that.
Fuck yeah.
But he's not motivated by money at all. He doesn't.
No, I'm just saying.
Money that motivates.
He's not, but it doesn't hurt.
To go to space, to go to Mars, to go to do this, to go to do that, to build this, to build that.
Benchmarks he wants to just do. Like I don't think it cares. Like that's the benchmark. But I also think that like from a economic perspective, once we get through this, so if you divide your investment up over the next 6 months and you just do a little at a time, I think you'll be really happy. Like
cost averaging.
Yeah, it's too hard to say the market's going to be fine right now and the economy will work itself out. It's just too hard to say that. So be careful with your investment portfolio right now. We're playing it incredibly conservative. I was talking about how I've hedged some of my portfolio as well. This is going to be a tough time for a lot of people. So hang in there and take care of your mental health, please. We're always available. If you want to talk to somebody, reach out, give us a call. It doesn't have to be about money or whatever. But take care of yourself, everybody. It's the most important thing right now is just to try to stay healthy and stay positive.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Russ.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining. Definitely, we're going to do this again.
Thanks,
on Elon Appreciation Day. So,
yeah. 420.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Take care, guys.
Peace out, guys.
Good luck. Stay safe.
Bye, guys. Thanks, third row.
On that day, let's put like on Twitter. Let's post like a picture we have with Elon.
We'll definitely promote the hell out of it for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Good
idea.
Thanks, Sophia. Sweet. All right, take care, guys.
Benediction. Have a great
Thanks,
one.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.